Hey folks, it's Joe from Joe's Classic Car Radio, and I thought I'd show you a pretty complicated radio that we were able to save from the scrap bin. This is a late 70s, early 80s Blaupunkt radio, and as you can see from the dial, it's a European radio. Now this radio came in, it was in pretty bad shape. It had been serviced at some point in the past and had some damage in it. The tape mechanism was pretty messed up, and some of the cables that went to some of the external units were cut off, and basically the only real way to save it was to convert it. So the customer decided not only did they want a standard conversion, which would be AM, FM, aux input, and 4-speaker output, but they wanted to add Bluetooth, USB, HD radio, RCA outputs, and they wanted the cassette deck to work. Now these are all pretty standard services that we offer. We actually do it quite a bit. This tape deck was a little more complicated than most, but in general, we do get a lot of requests, 8 tracks, cassette decks, Bluetooth, USB, all of that. What made this radio really different was the dial. This radio doesn't use a standard dial pointer like most classic car radios. Instead, this radio has an array of small red LEDs that indicate on the dial. So you can see when I turn it on, we have the little red LED over here indicating the station. And I can adjust to other stations. You can see that this is actually a HD station from the LED. And basically, this is not something that we added. This is the stock configuration for this radio. So it's not a common radio. It's going to really stand out as something original. We were lucky that none of the LEDs in this array were burned out, and that the IC that controlled which LED turned on was still functional. So we were able to isolate that from the original circuitry, make some custom design circuitry, and basically allowed it to not only run the indicator back and forth across the dial, but to tune the FMR module at the same time. So as cool as that all sounds, I'd love to tell you that that indicator lines up with the stations, but it doesn't. As I mentioned, it's a European radio. The dial scale doesn't even match for US stations. So basically we just spread the US FM dial across the FM band on the display here, and the indicator unfortunately doesn't line up. The only way it would be able to line up is if we made a custom dial glass, and that really wasn't in the cards for this radio. But again, the unique LED indicator for the dial pointer is definitely something that's going to stand out in the vehicle, and luckily we were able to save that. The buttons across the top, they used to be presets. Unfortunately, they're just on-off buttons, and with the original electronic tuner, they were able to be set. But for this radio, using the FMR, basically we just use these as the band selection. So the L button is AM, the two M buttons are set as shortwave, and then the K and U buttons are FM. So there was a lot of buttons up here. Unfortunately, we've got like 3 that select FM, but we were able to fit shortwave in there, which is not very common on a lot of radios. So that's another cool feature. The tape deck on the radio does work. It was quite a difficult unit. Basically, it uses a tach signal to check that the tape is moving. If it's not, it spits the tape back out. So we found some sensors that were bad. We had to make some custom circuitry, and the tape deck does work now. So the tape deck does play tapes, but you'll see this red button here on the side. This model originally had the ability to record cassettes. It had an external microphone that you could dictate to your cassette player and record your grocery list or important points for a meeting back in the 80s, I guess. But now the cassette deck only does playing cassettes. However, the customer did want to keep the dictation microphone. So he asked if this can now be used for the Bluetooth. So we were able to adapt this to being used for the Bluetooth. So now when he is making a call in the vehicle, he can talk into the original microphone here, and the switch on the front does turn the microphone on and off. So that's another cool little feature. But other than that, really, it's just a cool radio. The 80s were kind of an interesting time for aftermarket radios. Particularly Blaupunkt had a lot of, I'll say, original ideas, gooseneck equalizers and some fun different things that they tried to do to stand out. This is one example, and I'm very happy that we were able to adapt this and convert the radio so that the customer can get some enjoyment out of it when he installs it into his Porsche. And if you have any kind of custom radio or an original idea for your car, check out our website at www.joesclassiccarradio.com and see what we offer, and send us an email. Maybe we can come up with something original for your vehicle. So I look forward to hearing from you.